And I really think you're going to see the Buckeyes play one of the best games they've played this season because of the energy, the electricity, the preparation. And there's a couple of great opportunities on the drive by Thompson and Amir Williams with the putback. But it seemed to me as they got going in practice yesterday that they were ready to roll. And that guy is always ready to roll, Trey Burke.
He gets the first points of the game, and it's 3-0 Michigan. You figure if Ohio State can control the game defensively, they win. If Michigan gets to have their way from the offensive standpoint that they're accustomed that this would be their game. In a manner of speaking, Ohio State is in one of those strange roles, aren't they, of maybe trying to scramble it up, make it a little uglier than Michigan would like.
They wouldn't mind that being the case, Tim, and they'll try to do it with physicality, but at some point you have to put the ball in the basket, and they've blown a couple of good opportunities early.
It's been a very good weekend for second-generation players in college basketball. We got Glenn Robinson out here, and we've got Hardaway Jr. too. We'll see what happens as Michigan can't get that one to fall from Stauskas. And Aaron Kraft brings it back the other way. Some want Aaron to become a little bit more aggressive on the offensive end. That time took the extra step in anticipation of making an offensive move, and he turns it over.
Already here in the first 78 seconds, Tim, you can see the Buckeyes just a little bit too amped up.
Yeah.
Going a tad too fast. They need to idle it down just a notch. Michigan, as I indicated at the top of the telecast, one of the more poised and potent teams in the country because they have guys that can make plays off the catch and off the dribble.
Well, Stauskas will pick up the player control foul going right at Deshaun Thomas there.
Let's take a look. He beats Thompson, and I tell you what, Deshaun Thomas fortunate because he slid right into Stauskas there, and that should have been a block from where I sit.
Always important to note when Burke comes in here, it's his second opportunity after his freshman year a season ago. Played at Northland High School with Jared Sullinger. Local kid, means a lot obviously to him. Much being made in the local paper today. A huge article about why or how he managed to get out of Columbus. Thomas. The answer's soft left-hander from downtown, but inside the arc, it's 3-2.
Going back to Trey Burke, he was not actually offered a scholarship to Ohio State, Tim. And kids develop at different rates. Timing is a factor. Who else is in the recruiting class? I think sometimes it's really overblown when a kid ends up outside of his home state.
Robinson turned it over as well. Kraft driving inside the lane. Again, missing a bunny. And Amir Williams is there to clean it up this time. And it's 4-3 Ohio State.
Tim, one of the things the Ohio State coaching staff talked about was the ability of its team to bag its own groceries and hurt Michigan inside on the offensive glass. And already we've seen Williams come up with 2 potential putbacks.
Burke with a step-back jumper that will not fall. Morgan comes down with a rebound, gives it up to Hardaway Jr. Amir Williams collects it for Ohio State.
That's good basketball by Michigan to get that offensive rebound and then kick it out to an open Hardaway. It's the best time to really shoot the three-point shot off an offensive rebound. I think both teams would be excited or welcome the little reprieve after the first 4-minute war here. As most coaches like to refer to the 4-minute segments before TV timeouts, media timeouts.
Well, Kraft went and retrieved the loose ball after Burke had tapped it away, and a step-in 3 gives Ohio State a 4-point lead. Played very well in that game at Purdue earlier this week, and Ohio State needed the rebound. They really had a pathetic effort against Illinois on the road. They're 2-1 in conference play. Hardaway Jr. has it rejected. Linzel Smith. A 9-0 run for the Buckeyes.
and Michigan with a reset here.
Gary coming in off the bench during the timeout, replacing Morgan. There's Burke. Really well defended by Ohio State. Ravenel was in his face.
That'll be one of the keys for the Buckeyes, to continue to apply tremendous pressure on Trey Burke, make him try to finish through bodies, and then bump cutters legally anytime you have an opportunity. That's part of the game plan for the Buckeyes. Be physical and contain the dribble.
Shot clock under 10. Kraft negotiates. A little ruler that works. Aaron Kraft, if he's going to become more effective offensively, driving to the basket has to be part of it.
And every point guard needs to have that shot in his quiver. The little half shot between the foul line and the rim.
You know, one of the things we're seeing, Clark, is the in-between game come back into vogue in college basketball. Beautiful deflection there by Thomas. It's taken away by Kraft. And Michigan's inability to retain possession of the ball is fallen into question. Kraft again, softly off the window pane. The lead is 10. Timeout, Michigan.
Well, right now, Michigan has not shown the poise that I referenced early at the start of this telecast. They've allowed passes to be deflected, and they've not gotten quality shots. One of the things John Beilein talked about was part of the recipe for winning here on the road is to handle the energy in the building and to be able to stop runs. Right now, the Buckeyes in the midst of a huge run to get this 10-point lead.
It's fair to say that even with Michigan's 16-0 record, they've not played a team that's defended them quite like this so far this year. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that,
no,
based on what we've seen.
No, this is a different animal defensively, and they're loaded and ready to roll today.
Thomas, bang, zoom, Ohio State by a baker's dozen. Morgan took a step.
He's been able to control his energy and lead, and that's led to solid, excellent execution at both ends for Aaron and his teammates.
I talked to Aaron yesterday about Burke and his so-called late blossoming as a player locally. He has great respect for Trey, but you're right. There's absolutely so much competitive spirit in him today. Thomas, not this time. And it's pulled down by Michigan.
Well, it's about weathering the storm if you're Michigan. How do you find a quality shot to stop this run?
Buckeyes have also gone to the bench as well. We mentioned Ravenel is in the game, but now Shannon Scott has entered for the first time, number 3 for the Buckeyes. On the wing, a much-needed drought-ending jumper from Robinson. Glenn Robinson III.
Well, that was created. Ravenel was defending Trey Burke that time, so Trey was able to break him down, force help, and give Robinson III a wide-open look at the most lethal three-point shot in the game, Tim, is that corner three. It's the shortest one on the court and the one opposing coaches hate to give up.
That's a block, counted on a foul. Horford will pick it up. And Thomas has benefited from some 50-50 calls to get his game really punched up early.
Yes, he has. He actually committed what I thought was a block and got the charge called against Michigan. And that time it seemed as though that could have gone either way, but he benefits, and the conference's top scorer off to a terrific start here today.
In traffic, Hardaway, Robinson can't get it to go, and it's knocked out of bounds. It'll be controlled through Michigan underneath.
Just saw points off turnovers, and Michigan really a team that typically doesn't turn it over much, but already in the first 8:20 of this half, they've turned it over 5 times, and credit the Ohio State defense, physical and active.
LeVert into the game. He can't get that one to fall inside the key.
Good quality look, though. Free throw jumper wide open. You'll take that all day if you're Michigan.
LeVert in the game. Horford has checked back in, as we mentioned, playing with an aggravated foot injury. I'm really happy to have him back. This is a Michigan team that's not very deep. That rotation's right at 7. Kraft giving it up to Thomas. Ravenel has it knocked away by Horford, and then a reach-in foul by Evan. Retaliatory, I think, is what happened. a Michigan team looking to make a little history, but recent history has been the turnover, and Kraft comes away with another pilfer.
Yeah, that's 6 turnovers already for Michigan. I think the Wolverines just a little too passive, not playing with the kind of sandpaper edge that the Buckeyes are displaying here.
Sam Thompson, the Chicagoan sophomore from Milton High School, bangs it home, and it's 22-6. What a start for the home team.
And it's all been predicated by the defense, Tim. And that's what we saw in practice yesterday. The coaches were emphasizing that. The players were drinking the Kool-Aid and talking about how they were going to have to dictate things defensively.
Wow. They've lost their poise now. Leaving your feet for a pass. John Beilein's not seen that from his team all season long.
24 points, 15 of those points have come off Michigan turnovers. I am surprised by the lack of poise in the response from Michigan. Let's see how they finish out this next 10 minutes here.
Stauskas has only launched one shot, and he gets a foul that time.
And that's what's been the problem for Michigan. They've not had one. They've had maybe 2 or 3 good half-court plays. Other than that, everything's been disjointed, and it's because of Ohio State's outstanding defense.
Well, we'll see how the Wolverines respond, because number 1 was on their mind, but they are wounded now. Getting there is going to be very difficult. Thompson! And communication defensively really broke down there for the Wolverines. 26-6. Only 2 buckets from the floor in almost 11 minutes of playing time. Make it 3. They get it inside to Mitch McGarry. That's a good recipe for success when you're struggling.
Get it close to the hole, and to also take away some of that pressure that Ohio State is applying on the ball. You've got to be strong with it, make sharp cuts, and then be ready to use that pressure to your advantage as an offensive player.
Now Shannon Scott was looking for Thompson, didn't have enough on it, and it was taken away by Stauskas. Robinson the third. Just a bit too strong. Ravenel clears it.
And Ohio State doing a pretty good job on the defensive backboards here, Tim.
Well, that time an aggressive pass by Scott that Thompson was not ready for, but it was deflected out of bounds by Michigan. Oh, boy, you talk about the guy that's really done it the hard way. 7 stops along the way for that man. John Beilein began at Erie Community College, Nazareth, Lemoyne, Canisius, Richmond, West Virginia, and now 6 seasons at Michigan, and a magnificent coach.
And a head coach at every one of those stops. Has never been an assistant. And he's done it his way and has been quite successful at it.
And he's really changed his coaching style with this team, too. This is not what we've come to expect from him. As Scott drives to the basket and gets another easy shot. A number of layups for Ohio State. A 20-point lead against the nation's last undefeated team, Michigan.
It's been kind of an interesting weekend to this point in the Big Ten. Wisconsin pummeled Illinois. Indiana had a huge lead against Minnesota before the Gophers fought back and closed things. But right now, all Buckeyes here in Columbus.
Work the officials. You see John Beilein's team really struggling. He's taken the shot treatment timeouts already, but has not been able to get Stauskas unleashed at all. I mean, Nick has taken 1 shot, and it's been off the dribble. Burke, that one again, a stressful shot off the drive.
That's a good word for it. Stressful. And again, when you're trying to just beat pressure defense off the dribble without solid screening and solid player movement and ball movement, you're asking for trouble.
Thomas on the floor with Thompson. Amir Williams has come back into the game, along with Linzel Smith and Aaron Kraft operating at the point. Thompson again. Amir Williams goes back up, and he's fouled on the putback. Those that have been wondering about this Ohio State team and their evolution, many of, I believe, have been unfair to Aaron Kraft, saying he needs to score more. Well, if Amir Williams becomes what everyone thought he was going to be coming out of high school, they'll be fine, don't you think?
It makes a huge difference when you have some presence inside, and his presence will primarily be at the defensive end and on the glass, but that's enough. And then you also factor in Sam Thompson, Linzel Smith Jr., one of those guys being a consistent perimeter threat for Ohio State.
He really struggled on the defensive end, but maybe learned a few things when going up against Jeff Ruby of Kansas when Greg Anthony and Clark Kellogg were with me here just a few weeks back. And once you get used to Big Ten play on the different levels from non-conference to regular season, it matters.
It does matter, and you have to go through it. And speaking of experience, I mean, we look at this Michigan team unblemished to this point, playing excellent basketball, but this is a relatively young squad. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. is a junior, but LeVert out there with the ball, he's a local product, Pickerington Central High School, and he's a freshman. McGarry is a freshman. Trey Burke, as outstanding as he is a sophomore, so this is still a relatively young team that's having it handed to him here in the first half.
Well, that one was swatted away by Williams, but then Thompson and Shannon Scott lost the break opportunity, so an opportunity missed there off of the rejection by Amir Williams. Spike Albrecht, a freshman from Crown Point, Indiana, has come into the game for the first time, so obviously John Beilein is reaching for whatever they can. You see the fewest points in a half, 25 against Nebraska. They shot the ball poorly earlier this week in that game. Welcome to conference play. Albrecht is fouled as he drives the baseline. But really, once you get past McGarry and LeVert, that would be true for just about everyone. Well, tomorrow, I'm in the middle of the freak out right now myself. Albrecht drains it. And it's now a 29-10 game, as you see. Glenn Robinson III coming in. And by the way, happy to report that you recently had a college graduate.
That's right.
Home. You've had many of late.
That's right. We've had a couple in the last few years. Our oldest son, Clark Alexander, got his degree from here at The Ohio State University. Proud moment for everybody. Zone defense here by Michigan. They've been in the zone the last few possessions, Tim. And if they can contain the ball, it opens. You've got to be ready to defensive rebound. Yeah. And that time, Hardaway Jr. able to corral one on that weak side board. But that's the deficiency in the zone.
Hardaway all the way to the rack and fouled.
And this is a precision team, a highly skilled offensive team are the Wolverines, but they rely on spacing, precision, and Ohio State has blown all of that up here. Good point, Tim, you're right. The point of attack. Well, Shannon Scott does a really good job pressuring the ball defensively. Very similar to Aaron Craft in that regard, but you're right. No real shot blocking presence out there for the Buckeyes.
Quentin Ross on the floor as well, number 10 in white, joining Thompson, Ravenel, Linzel Smith Jr., Shannon Scott running the point. Good ball movement by the Buckeyes. Scott has really elevated his game this season. Son of legendary Charlie Scott of North Carolina fame. Linzel Smith not there. Hardaway jumped a little soon, and it cost him. And a recycle for Ohio State.
Well, I think the zone defense is a good call by John Beilein, but you've got to be able to defensive rebound out of it.
Oh, the alley-oop a little too high. Run down by Albrecht.
I think it's eliminated the dribble penetration for Ohio State thus far.
Hardaway feeding LeVert. One thing about this Michigan team, because their rotation is small, they have good chemistry for the most part. We'll see, because they have certainly been challenged today. You better trust one another a lot when you're down this far early.
That's right.
Albrecht lost his dribble, but it's picked up. And dished off for the dunk. Morgan from Glenn Robinson III.
Excellent poise that time by Glenn Robinson III. He actually saw Morgan before he got control of that ball and knew he was going to drop it off to him.
That was a big bucket.
They're all big when you struggle to score the way Michigan has here in the first half.
Ravenel steps outside, not known for his offense and face-up game. Gets it done there. Well, that ended the only mini run that Michigan had. They had scored 5 straight points. And a foul spotted. Michigan got the first points of the game, then went 7-20 without a bucket. And it's been all Ohio State since then. Turnovers being the real key element. They've doubled up the number of Ohio State.
The Buckeyes are in the penalty. So that means if you can draw fouls, you get a chance to score with the clock stop. Your zone defense that's been employed the last few minutes has been reasonably effective. You just need to finish it with defensive rebounds, and you might have a chance to chip away.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to look at if you're Michigan. Can we get a strong finish over this next 3.5 minutes and close the gap a little bit? You're down 16. If you can cut it 4 or 5 points going into halftime, that would be a win. That would be a victory in this last 3 minutes, rather.
Way back in the day, it was the 1-3-1 zone that Beeline used. If Deshaun Thomas keeps making those, he'll have to come out of the 2-3 that he's in now.
Well, the 2-3 is fine, but you have to know who's on your side of the floor when you're in the zone. You don't want to allow Thomas to get a good look at a catch and shoot.
Hardaway off the bounce. Finally rattles one home. As soon as he gets warmed up, Michigan becomes a much more difficult team to guard.
Looks like they're changing defenses now here, Tim. It appears as though they're man-to-man now. That's the case. Let's see how they handle that. Dribble penetration was a bit of a problem early on, in addition to the turnovers.
The other thing this does, the zone though, is it slows Ohio State down a little bit, doesn't it?
It does. But you got to contain the ball. That's not good enough, and Aaron Craft just undershot it.
Burke on the loose. Ravenel, good help defensively, cutting off the baseline from Robinson. Albrecht, how about that? The sharpshooter from Crown Point, making one. The freshman coming off the bench to ignite this Michigan team.
He and Trey Burke have not been on the floor together very much at all. But again, when you've got such a deep hole as a coach and a coaching staff, you start trying to reach for something that can be positive for you. And Albrecht has been.
At this stage, with under 2 minutes remaining, if they could close it to single digits, they would feel pretty good about themselves.
That would be large, extremely large.
Well, we got some holding down along the baseline.
Kraft on the floor with 2 fouls. That Mahler trusting that he can play the last 90 seconds without committing a third. And also confident that if he were to do that, that Shannon Scott would be okay to replace him.
Thomas running that curl a little quick with it. Speaking quick, here's Burke. Is that quick?
Big time.
How about that?
That's big time rack-to-rack take right there. Low dribble. Just call him low rider. And right now, Michigan doing just what we talked about, Tim. Finally displaying some of the poise that has been a huge part of this team's success so far this season.
Let's see, who recorded low rider?
Oh, don't start. Don't start. You're Mr. Music Man.
Yeah, working inside. Thomas trying to play another one. He's rejected by McGarry. Now it's a 4-on-2 for Hardaway. Oh, and he blew it by looking for Burke behind him. Boy, you talk about a blown opportunity.
Yeah, that's one that they'd love to have back. Now, if you're the Buckeyes, you want to capitalize on it because you've been out of sync the last few possessions.
Clark, this is a key moment. If Michigan gets a stop, goes down and scores, cuts it to 10 or lower, then they've got a lot of momentum going into the second half, despite the horrid start to this game.
Well said, and the Buckeyes, on the other hand, would love to be able to keep the lead at double digits and maybe add to it right now with a good shot.
Thompson from downtown at the buzzer does not go, and Hardaway's on the loose again.
Plenty of time here if you're Michigan.
A bucket here to cut it to 10 or 9, and that would be huge for Michigan. Hardaway, the iron unkind, and it has been for the most part in the first 20 minutes.
For Ohio State to continue to try to win this game with its defensive pressure and physicality.
And by the way, if the Maize and Blue come back, your most valuable player in the first half was Spike Albrecht, a career-high 7 points off of the Michigan bench when they were searching for just anything they could find. Boy, Thomas doing a nice job shadowing Glenn Robinson running that curl. Here's Morgan on the low blocks, working over Amir Williams, and he gets it to fall.
That's a tough one-on-one move, and it's down to 10 now. And a huge psychological lift for Michigan to get the first basket of the second half.
The only undefeated team in the country, looking to become #1 after the Duke loss to Mark Gottfried's North Carolina State Wolfpack team yesterday in the ACC.
Let's see how Ohio State handles having to play in the half court. This is where the Buckeyes have traditionally struggled this season, is trying to execute and knock down shots in the half court.
Kraft with the clock winding down. Ball was deflected by Morgan. Williams picked it up, but he couldn't get it to fall. Morgan with a quick outlet to Burke. Michigan's only lead was at 3-0. First shot by Burke, and then after that, they were blitzed. Made a moderate comeback in the last 10 minutes of the first half to cut it to a dozen. Hardaway Jr. just cannot find it from deep, and he struggled when he's tried to drive as well. They need him to warm up in the second half if they are to complete this comeback.
And the Buckeyes need to play at a brisk pace. That's not a bad early look, but they've got to try to speed the pace up. Michigan much more comfortable playing a half-court game because they have an outstanding point guard in Burke, but he's not alone in his ability to make shots or plays. Stauskas is capable, as is Hardaway Jr., and Glenn Robinson III can get it done offensively as well.
I mean, they've virtually gotten nothing from Stauskas. That one grazes the front rim. Hardaway Jr.'s been stopped, as has Robinson. I mean, you got to figure one of those three gets started. You know, Michigan might have a chance here.
That's right.
But to this point, it simply has not happened. The Ohio State defense has been suffocating. There's a nice move. That's a block. Stauskas comes in there a bit late. All kinds of media making their way in from Ontario. And Stauskas leaving the game with 3 fouls. They'd love to get three-point shots from him. He's really disappointed as he sits down after that blocking call. Buckeyes back up by 13.
Good pressure on the ball by Thompson.
LeVert, that's a block.
Misses a couple of free throws there, but he's got tremendous potential. He's grown since he's been on campus. I think he's grown about an inch, and he's added probably 15 pounds or so. And his frame is going to continue to expand as he goes forward.
This is a very intelligent Michigan team. Even when they're struggling, you get a feel that they are holding their composure on this end of the floor. Kraft has it knocked away. Good job defensively that time by Morgan and Burke. The alley-oop is intercepted by Sam Thompson. They were looking to get Robinson in gear, but it just didn't happen. Look at the season average and what they have today. Any one of that, that trio and quartet now, I should say, with Burke added to that number. I mean, any one of them get going, look out.
Yeah, that's about 61 points. Those four average combined in aggregate, and they've got 11 right now. Still plenty of time and within striking range.
Burke, he's fouled from beyond the arc, and that should be 3.
Burke wanted it to be a potential 4.
This youngster added some strength and some LBs during the offseason.
4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio.
He's the next Chris Paul, and I'll tell you, he's emulated him quite a bit. Spent some time with him in the summer, talks to him often, really admires him, and I tell you, you could do a lot worse emulating someone else.
He's a great guy to look at, but I would hate to make that connection completely on the compare, but he does play similarly.
The idea being here, at this level of his development, what could he become? I saw a lot of Chris Paul at Wake Forest.
Okay, there you go.
And at this statement, the statement I'm making is based on where he is in his development now.
Thank you. I'm glad we could embellish that and clarify it a bit. I'm always hesitant to make those kind of comparisons, but you cleared it up for me nicely, partner.
Kraft off the front rim. Numbers again as he pushes it. This is the part that reminds me of Paul. The ability to push it. Now that time, he should have given it up. Smith leaving it for Thompson.
Good job by Michigan there to transition back defensively. Sean Thomas has been rather quiet since, and then just threw it away there.
Albrecht looking to spike his team again in the second half. Hardaway, a leaner that won't go, short-armed it. But the garbage hoop for McGarry. That's the way the freshman from Chesterton, Indiana, gets his points. He'll just do whatever it takes. 5 minutes gone by, and it's 37-29. Michigan as close as they've been since 5 minutes deep into this game. Last time the lead was under double digits, the score was 11-3. So Michigan, like a percolator, drip, 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 slowly making their move, the maize and blue.
And going to a 1-3-1 zone, and the Buckeyes get a good look for Deshaun Thomas.
Oh, the iron kind of the feathery softball. And it's 39-29.
Well, I talked about it at the top. Pace, so important for Ohio State. This is grounded to a much slower pace now, which I think favors Michigan because they've got proven half-court playmakers and shot makers. Ohio State, a work in progress in that regard, but defensively, we know the Buckeyes can make things happen.
Kraft really picking Burke's pocket there.
Aaron Kraft is pertinacious. Stubbornly tenacious is what he is.
I'll tell you, the pinker his cheeks get, the more steals he has. You know what I mean? It's like a dimple that just continues to expand as the game goes on.
Well, I don't know if there's a guy in college basketball that relishes and enjoys defending as much as he does.
What a pass that was. Beautifully done inside to Mitch McGarry. 39-31. Yeah, if they were shooting a basketball movie, they'd have to call in makeup in the second half for Aaron Kraft.
Well, you see what Michigan has done methodically so, Tim, over the last 11 and a half minutes. That's not what you would call a spurt, but as you said, just kind of a drip, drip, drip back into contention.
Linzel Smith, he can make that shot, and usually if you're looking for that third or fourth option in a game, he can be that guy. You look at the turnover story, beginning to slowly equal out.
Yep, at the half, Michigan had 9 TOs, so only 2 here in the first 7 minutes of this second half.
Robinson the third, off the bounce. Again, well defended. You're going to have a stressful shot when you drive the baseline against Ohio State.
And that was part of the game plan for the Buckeyes, Tim. Force challenge shots against high hands and body contact.
Ravenel.
One-on-one, you've got to go to work there, and Evan went the wrong way.
McGarry rejects him.
Should have continued to the middle.
Albrecht. Ooh, the iron, tantalizingly unkind. But McGarry on the putback may have been guilty of a push prior to that.
Michigan mixing up defenses, Tim, going a little zone on occasion. Looks like man-to-man here now. It is man-to-man, and there's Burke. Nice job by Kraft to keep Burke from being able to go through his body for that loose ball.
Shot clock under 5 and another takeaway. Burke is on the loose. Rejected by Shannon Scott. He didn't see him. He saw Aaron Kraft.
Great play by Scott to not give up on it. And I think Burke got a little casual because you're right, he didn't see Scott.
Nothing comes easily against the Buckeyes on the defensive end of the floor. They have just been outstanding today.
Boy, that's a significant play, Tim, especially if the Buckeyes score here.
Thomas!
Wow. 5-point turnaround there, Tim.
No question. Burke. That's his game. Drive and deliver. But it just hasn't been falling for Hardaway. Hasn't been falling for anyone. Robinson either. He'll try. Out of bounds. Last touched by Evan Ravenel.
Credit Ohio State's defense, especially at the start, Tim. Very physical and very aggressive, and that time they allow Hardaway to muscle inside for a layup off the baseline out of bounds play.
That was a problem for Ohio State, if you recall, against Kansas.
It sure was.
Dealing with the baseline out-of-bounds play a few weeks back. They since then worked a little harder on that.
Nice extra pass there.
Kraft. Thomas gets that 50-50 and then fills it up with a slam. Quicker to the ball, Ohio State. Hardaway gets the pick from Morgan, drives to the basket and wills that one into the hoop off the glass.
He sure did. He was challenged and made a difficult shot, and Michigan still hanging around. You know, this is a team that shoots the three ball at 41% on the season, Tim, and have yet to get it going there. So as long as they're within a few possessions, they feel like they've got time and enough in its arsenal to get back in it.
Well, it has been a cold shooting day for sure. The iron's been downright rude to them. They got to believe at some point the basket will come their way. Another loose ball opportunity. Thomas and Scott trying to keep it alive. Finally pulled away by Morgan for the Maize and Blue.
Boy, I love the effort by Deshaun Thomas, though. He just kind of alligator armed that putback, but the effort, admirable.
Well, you see the shooting story today. Fourth best in the NCAA, but that was before they played Ohio State. Morgan, that will be a block. Native of Indiana at the free throw line. Lead is back to 8. Michigan's had a couple of chances to crack lower than that, but have either turned it over or Ohio State's just made a big play on the offensive end. Thomas again. Stauskas comes away with a rebound for Michigan.
Michigan doing a better job containing the dribbler.
Alley-oop, it finally happened for Hardaway. That might get Tim Hardaway Jr. going off a perfect alley-oop throw from Trey Burke.
Well, I think he is going. I think he's made his last three, hasn't he, Tim?
Yeah.
So he is going.
But he hasn't had a face-up jumper go.
Oh, that's what you're looking at.
Okay,
you want to see him spray a jumper.
Yeah, I'm ready for a splash from downtown.
Yeah, you've got to go specific on me, partner. As a guy makes three in a row, that's in the groove.
You're a scorer. I want some pizzazz. Stauskas comes out of there with it. Here's Burke again. Off the bounce. Trey Burke.
That good enough for you?
I'll take that. 44-40. You could say that they've warmed up a little bit now. Well, you see the ties and lead changes, but the lead was at one time 21. And Michigan, as we said before, they took what happened in the last 10 minutes of the first half and then continued it here in the second. Thomas, a little floater. Will not go. It's Stauskas with the release to Burke. Ohio State's defensive transition sound. Hardaway taking it inside. Ravenel knocked it away.
Thomas appears to be okay, although he's not back in the game. He's trying to walk it off and bounce it off. And hopefully it's not serious, and adrenaline will carry him through the last 7 minutes of this one.
Well, your translation of that conversation among the staff, Meyer, Alexander, and Laval Jordan, was dead on. They've made the statement about reducing the number of points off turnovers and turnovers in general.
Yeah, exactly. That was a huge deal. That was the difference. I mean, it was a 12-point deficit, and all of that deficit was points off turnovers. And this is where you're concerned about the Buckeyes' inability to do this.
There it is.
Make shots.
There it is from downtown.
Yeah, and that's a called play out of the timeout. They're trying to get a high-quality three-point shooter a good look, and they do, and it's a one-point game and an offensive foul now. And a team like this and a guy like Hardaway Jr., once he sees it go down, may create an opportunity for himself or somebody else.
That was too low of a pass for Stauskas to try to make. Leads to a run out. Hello! Thompson from Scott! Great Scott with the oop. Robinson, count it, and a silencer in Columbus.
Tim, you were all over it 2 possessions ago. You talked about Hardaway Jr. knocking down one, and again, this team has lethal three-point shooters, and finally displaying the type of poise that's been characteristic of this team all season long.
When Ohio State has had an opportunity to score, Clark, it's come in transition. Scott feeding Ravenel. We may have to see more of he and Kraft simultaneously the rest of the way, don't you think?
And Trey Burke coming up a little gimpy, but he seems okay. You're right. That's a good point. They do move the ball and get penetration more when those guys are together. Scott and Kraft.
Loose ball, it's tied up. The arrow is to Ohio State.
Now it's a matter of not just energy, but execution at both ends that'll determine your outcome from here.
Stauskas still hasn't scratched for Michigan. Kraft with the dump down to Ravenel.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, he was very strong with the basketball here. Young man that's gone through a lot, dropped a lot of weight. Knows his role, though, a complimentary player down low.
And he knew his role that time with the smaller defender on him. Take him right to the front of the rim.
Hardaway Jr. goes crying off the front rim. Thomas is back in to get the rebound. Scott remains in the backcourt with Kraft. This enables Aaron to get loose as an off guard.
And take some of the ball handling pressure off of him solely. I think you got to look back inside.
Why not? Why not?
Yep. Well done by the Buckeyes there.
The lead is back to 6.
That's excellent execution and recognition. Excellent defense by Shannon Scott.
Boy, he is all over Burke. Hardaway Jr. Shadowed by Thompson. Robinson for 3. Not there. Run down by Thompson. Best pure athlete on this Ohio State team, so says Thad Matta.
Boy, it's Deshaun Thomas giving a terrific effort. I think he's still a little shaken up, but boy, he's giving his team a nice contribution here late. Yeah, you can see he's actually holding something. I can't tell if it's his arm or finger.
Michigan really needs a stop here, too. After all that work, they had to tie it up. Kraft, not there. Look at Thompson again with the quickness, but it's taken away by Michigan. Burke is on the loose. Takes the screen from Morgan and airmails it. Not this time, though. Thompson with a pick. 4-on-2. He wants it back. Oh! That'll be an offensive foul. Morgan leaving the game. McGarry coming back in. They're the only remaining unbeaten. #1 for them at stake. Last time a Michigan team went 16-0 to start. Antoine Jobert, Gary Grant, Roy Tarpley were on that team. Some of the all-time greats in Michigan's past. But they are 2.5 minutes away from getting their first blemish.
And that was a deep look at the 3 by Stauskas. He has that kind of range, but a tad questionable when you haven't had it going.
Ohio State going to use some of the clock with its possession this time. Scott, he was threw that one into the 3rd row.
Right now, +6 for the Buckeyes, but only a 2-possession game, and we know Michigan is capable from the 3-point line. That's too good a look.
Hardaway Jr. halfway down the cylinder and out. He's only gotten the one from downtown.
Right now, Michigan, Tim, just kind of settling for the 3. You don't have to cast it with such desperation at this juncture.
Burke dogging Kraft, and he picks his pocket. Wave it off. The foul on the floor. John Beeline's beside himself.
I would be too.
And I believe some adjustments perhaps from the rule as it's written needs to take place to handle this problem.
Very good and interesting point, TB.
We've seen it the last 3 weeks, you and I.
Yeah.
And there's a foul against Ravenel. Reaching in. And it'll be a 1-and-1 coming up.
Burke makes it a moot point, a 4-point game, so 97 seconds to go. Plenty of time. Ohio State has to be strong with it. Patient, but not tentative. There's a difference. You still have to look to score and try to get a quality shot, even if it happens to be early in the clock.
Hagari and Stauskas leave the game, and Levert just decided to put a bear hug on Kraft and committed the foul. But clearly he's in a defensive for offensive substitution pattern. And the foul given up by Burke again pretty quick with the leg that time.
You end up with a new shot clock now.
I hear you.
So
only an observation, partner.
Yeah, I know it's an interesting point. But I think now you've definitely got to try to play defense without fouling if you're Michigan and try to force a turnover or a tough shot.
There it is, right on cue, Clark. Robinson with the jam. And like that, just like that, 52-50. A one-possession game in Columbus. Number 1 trying to possibly be the new location for Michigan if they can come away with a win. And this would be a steal. 3 undefeateds have gone down this week. Will we have a 4th?
Good pressure here by Burke trying to keep it out of the hands of Aaron Kraft, and he's going to be called for a foul there. And that's the 5th team foul now on Michigan, and you reset. See if you can get a stop.
Think the Buckeyes are going to find number 1 this time?
I think you try to get it to him, although he's matched up with Glenn Robinson III in the post. He's got more size than Hardaway Jr.
There's Thomas. He leans in, tries to follow but can't.
Got a good look on the leaner, and then good effort to try to get the rebound.
Robinson III claimed it. Michigan's last lead was 3-2, a minute and a half deep into this game.
And the Buckeyes can't foul because they're already over the limit. It doesn't have to be a 3, but a high-quality shot and leave a little time on the clock just in case you miss it, so you can rebound it or foul.
10-second shot clock differential. Burke working on Kraft. You're not going to find a better matchup in the backcourt. He launches. Oh, the iron! Tantalizingly unkind. And a foul underneath McGarry. Wow. Halfway down the cylinder and out. Thompson needs some help. Got it from Smith Jr. And he's going to be fouled by Robinson. So we shall see. It works out pretty well for Michigan.
Yeah, it works out ideally. I mean, that's exactly the guy. If they were going to choose somebody to shoot free throws in this situation, it would be Lenzel Smith Jr. based on percentage. And this is 1-and-1, so Michigan's anticipating a miss, and they've got to block out in plenty of time if he doesn't convert. Pure.
I'll say.
Now this is a huge one here because now it makes it a 2-possession game if he can get this one. And if that's the case, then the Buckeyes defend without fouling, and Michigan tries to rush it up and get a good, quick shot.
Oh, Roberta Flack killing me softly with those free throws. How about that? A 4-point game. Burke again from downtown. Off the back iron. Kraft had it. It was knocked away, but a foul. It goes against Burke, reaching in. That should do it. Seth Davis said this earlier this year in our studio. The college basketball world is flat. Kraft with the coup de grace. And it's a 6-point game. They were down by 21 in the first half. Burke uses the bank shot to get the timeout with 1 tick left. Thompson goes over the top to Smith Jr. and the Buckeyes win it. There are no undefeateds in college basketball.
Deshaun, congratulations. Terrific effort. this was a Big Ten battle because I saw you on the ground shaking off injuries. Talk to me about how you feel physically and how important this win was for you guys.
I feel fine physically. You know, this is one of the hard-fought games in the Big Ten. You know, you got to be a pro sometimes. You know, you got to come out and go through that toughness. And this is a big win, especially for us as a team.
Talk about your ability to not only score outside, but I thought late in the game you went down in the post. You got an offensive rebound that really proved to be big-time buckets for you guys.
Yeah, it's just being ready and executing well. And Coach said, you know, we're not going to lose this game. This game's going to be toughness. And I came out the offensive rebound, got inside in the post. They were switching, little guy on me.